Opus Daemoniacal is the ninth full-length album from Norwegian black metal band Limbonic Art. We could qualify that with atmospheric black metal or symphonic black metal. They're usually lumped in with symphonic black metal because of a heavy use of keyboards in their work. But compositionally speaking, this was a much more sophisticated band than average back in the day. The keyboards weren't an accoutrement. It wasn't a enhancer of atmosphere as it was in a lot of other groups, much in the way that anthems to the Welcome at Dusk brought in a actual sort of symphonic element to things, an orchestral touch to a lot of the songs. So did Limbonic Art, but it was the main feature of the songwriting. These were complex and intense albums that were coming one after another. It's like they were writing them in their sleep for the first several years, and they still don't really fit in with their peers if you truly pay attention to those first three or four records. They weren't all that brutal. They weren't necessarily writing about the same type of things. This was a unique band that we could kind of liken to a few things, and they fit in because they were on Samoth's label. And if you were an Emperor fan back in the day, you certainly knew about this group, and they were highly influential to get a lot of people picking up keyboards beyond those first couple of Emperor records. And so, with that history in mind, I think I would say, as a fan for a very long time, the epitome of Illusions is a nice in between. It's. I think for me, it was the peak of their work in terms of the compositions and the songwriting. It was both a little bit raw. It brought in some of their demo level songwriting, but it also touched it up with their quality of Inhabhorrent Dementia. So as a fan, I think that's an exciting point to make. But as we get into this record, it's important to say that this is not the original duo. It's just one of the members, one of the founding members, and he brought the band back some years ago. But the his sort of songwriting partner only showed up for parts of, I think, the 2007 record, and that sounded more like all the things they'd done before. But since then, he's brought it into more of a guitar-oriented black metal, a Norwegian black metal style, and that's what we'll find on this record. So we'll cut to a clip and talk more about what this record is and what are the good and the bad things that come with not focusing on keyboards or their classic sound. So you've definitely seen this pattern before. A band as well is kind of revered for its past work. They never really got their dues back in the 90s. They return to much acclaim to see that they're back, and then they produce something that is really nothing all that like what they were doing because they can't replicate that old magic. There was something that they had going on back then that made that possible, and now obviously 20, 30 years pass and they want to do something else. And so it took Limbonic Art a few records to really get the main composer here to do his own thing, and that is primarily just guitar driven black metal, and Norwegian black metal at that. And so that's meant a focus on slightly chaotic riffcraft, so a bit of a thrash metal influence in some of these songs, and almost no keyboards or piano on this actual record, this latest one. So what we end up paying attention to is the guitar work, because the vocals are not all that exciting either in terms of their cadence. And so already I can see a lot of people would have lost interest without the keyboards, without that classic sound, without the classic production. We're really not getting any nostalgia out of this record other than recognizing the name of the band and their past. And so if you're in that camp, I don't know really know what you're going to get out of this record beyond their name and some of the lyrical charm that is brought into this record. I think that if you're a fan of black metal in general and you like the classic type of songwriting, there is an early 90s, early second wave feeling to a lot of these songs in terms of their lyrics, their message, and the philosophy of black metal that's conveyed with them in them. And there is a little bit of that late first wave sort of feeling to it too, where there's still some heavy metal in there, and there are even some heavy metal driven riffs in there that work for me in particular. But I do feel like a lot of people are coming into this with nostalgia, with probably no patience for what this record is doing. And I think at a 50-minute record, it's a big ask, but it's also necessary because you're going to have to learn this new language if you've skipped all of their work beyond 1998 or so. So what I would do is give this record a chance to be just what it is, and For me, it actually worked out as a strong enough, an average or above average black metal record, and one that I don't necessarily understand why it's attached to the Limbonic Art name other than it being an unrecognizable brand. Not a bad record. It's above average for me. I guess I would give this a moderately high recommendation, maybe more of a moderate one. It hasn't held up as much as I thought it would, and I haven't come back to it as often. But I do think that this is a much better record than anything they've released beyond 2007. And while they're doing something different, it is good different. It's something that is representative of where the artist came from back in the day. And it feels like, they have hit the reset button with this, but that hasn't really hurt the ability to write songs and to produce something that is commendable here as a black metal record that is distinctly Norwegian. So, as a fan of those things, I thought I'd mention it and talk about it in some depth. And go ahead and see if that's to your taste and to your liking, and read my review if you'd like more of my thoughts.